Hi everyone, I'm Dave, and you are listening to my podcast, The Reaction Shot. Listen as each episode will showcase a movie that I love being introduced to a friend of mine that has never seen it. We will discuss, dissect, and review each film from pre to post-production, as well as its legacy. Will we see eye to eye, or is our scope of viewing a little different? Thanks for hitting play, because now you're about to find out. Fade in. Hey everyone, welcome back to The Reaction Shot. Here we are at episode 8, and today we are doing the 2005 teen slasher mystery thriller, Cry Wolf. Joining me today, I actually have 2 returning guests. The first time that I have 2 other people talking about a movie on here with me. Returning guests are, of course, Lauren Drake and Brittany Cunningham. Hi guys, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. You know, I love that we are able to do this, the 3 of us. I think the best way to explain why there are 3 of us for this one is, Brittany, you actually have a background with Cry Wolf in terms of the fact that you actually have seen this movie multiple times, and Lauren, you have never seen this movie. Is that correct, guys?
Surprise. That's a surprise.
Yeah, I've seen it probably more times than I can actually count.
Wow.
Including rewatching it for this time.
Oh my
really
gosh. Wow. And can we talk about the way you say wolf, Dave?
Do I say it awkwardly?
You're like wolf.
Wolf. Well, I gotta put that evil tone behind it, you know. Cry wolf.
Wolf. Yeah.
Wolf.
Like,
Wolf.
what is your girlfriend? Wolf.
Well, cry wolf it is. All right, guys. Yeah, so Cry Wolf came out in 2005. As I mentioned, it was a teen slasher mystery thriller. It actually had a lot of great marketing behind it. During this time, in 2005, we were in the middle of some crazy internet times. We had a instant messaging service called AOL Instant Messenger, better known as AIM.
AIM.
Yeah, AIM. What is your background on AOL Instant Messenger, guys?
I think we should all share what our names were on there.
All right, Lauren, that means you're up first.
Mine was Silver Sky 87.
Oh, Silver
Yeah,
Sky.
very mysterious.
Cute.
Why
That is
Silver
so
Sky?
cute.
I don't know. It sounded like ethereal.
That's very on brand.
Yes.
Brittany.
I
Yeah.
love that.
What about you, Brittany?
Mine was super embarrassing. Mine was Beastly Bee, a 341, because
Beastly Bee.
my house was 341, and Beastly Bee, I thought I was a beast in basketball in like
Yeah.
5th grade whenever I made it. So
No, that's cool. I love that. That's awesome. Like,
thanks.
you guys had
And then
good
Brittany,
names.
B for Brittany.
Relax. Surprise. In case no
Yeah,
one knew.
shocker. What was yours?
Mine, you guys said you guys were embarrassing. Mine was embarrassing. Mine was Hollister Boy with an I, 77.
It's the Hollister
Wait,
boy,
B-O-I.
boy with an eye for me.
B-O-I, yeah.
B-O-I.
boy,
Okay.
yeah.
I can't.
I'm crying.
So, yeah.
So
you can take
good.
yeah. That's so if we were chatting back in the day, if you ever spoke to Hollister Boy, you know, and I was like, ASL question mark? That was me.
I miss
Oh.
chat rooms, though. That was a good time.
Mm-hmm.
It really was.
Yeah, that was AOL Instant Messaging was so much fun. We got to put a little away messages up, putting those quotes in there from popular breakup songs, taking a shower,
Or
BRB. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine was always going to the movies, you know, typical me.
Right,
Not much
you
has
put
changed.
everything you're about to do, and then BRB.
BRB.
Be back in 25 minutes.
Everyone's like anticipating that 25 minutes if their mom was gonna have to use the phone.
And then you hope that somebody actually sent you a message while you're away, and if you didn't, you're just like, oh
Yep.
It
wow,
was so
you don't
sad
miss
if
me.
someone didn't. Yeah.
Yeah. If you didn't get that message when you came back, it was super sad.
I know, you're like, damn.
Uh,
Look outside.
Yeah, well, I guess I'll put another way message up and hope for that message when I come back this
A
time.
super sad
Yeah.
one this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clear, like Fall
Yeah.
Out Boy or
Nobody
something.
loves
Yep.
me.
A little dashboard confessional.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yes.
Uh,
Vindicated.
Vindicated,
it.
absolutely. I'm here for it too. That would be my way message. All right, so Cry Wolf was coming out during this time. Summer marketing campaign for the film prior to its fall release was heavily backed by AOL. They actually invented a instant messaging game that you could play with your friends that was very similar to the game they play in the movie. Yeah, essentially the wolf would message you and you and your friends could play a game. Someone would be the shepherd in charge of everything and you have to try to guess who the, quote unquote killer was. I do remember the marketing for this. I do remember the game. I just don't remember exactly what the rules were or how you really played. But of course I was sucked into that marketing campaign hardcore and thought it was like the coolest thing ever. And I'm like so excited to see this movie. And naturally, I was there opening night with a group of friends,
Wow.
and
That's awesome.
yeah, I left the theater. I loved it. I had so much fun with it, and even to this day, this is a movie that I go back and tell everyone, like, you need to watch Cry Wolf and let me know your thoughts on it. And it's always very 50-50. I have people who are like, why did you make me waste my time? And then you have people who are like, that movie was so much fun. And I think that's what it is. It wasn't meant to be this Oscar award-winning film with highly captivating performances that bring you to tears. And it's not to say that any of the acting or writing or directing was bad. If anything, I think at this time in the mid 2000s, they actually did pretty good with what they had going on. So I really enjoyed it. Opening weekend for the film, with all the marketing behind it, it made $4.5 million off of a budget of $1 million and ended up making
Nice.
$32.5 million worldwide. Well, obviously,
Wow.
it was a hit. It was a hit in its own right. Fortunately, it wasn't a big darling to the critics, and even at that time too, people were very divided on what they thought of the film. So, yeah. To
That's
this
so
day,
interesting.
yeah, it really
Because,
is.
like, sorry to interrupt, but
No.
didn't actually see it whenever it came out in theaters. I want to say I probably saw it once it was on DVD, because Lindy Booth, who plays Dodger, was on The Famous Jet Jackson, and I loved her on that. She played Riley, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna watch this movie because she's in it.
What was she
And then I
in?
ended up loving The Famous Jet Jackson. It was on the Disney Channel. Yeah,
No.
that's how I found out about this movie.
Oh, that's awesome. No, it's great. Yeah, I feel like for the most part, a lot of these people were at the time basically unknown. Obviously, some went on to do some great stuff. So the writer and director is actually still making movies today, and I feel like they're in the same kind of realm as being fun and thrilling, I guess you would say, kind of in that thriller aspect. So that's awesome. As I mentioned, critics at the time were very unfavorable to the film. As it trends today, Cry Wolf is at a 23% on Rotten Tomatoes with 47 critic reviews, and audience score is at a 51%, which goes with me saying I feel like people are very divided on the film. So I feel like that pretty much stands up. Us film fans know that when it comes to horror movies or teen slashers, mystery films, critics don't usually end up loving these types of movies because they were, in a sense, kind of made to be fun, as mentioned, and not really trying to, get a whole bunch of Oscars and things like that. So, yeah. Well, let's get into the cast and crew here for a minute. The film was directed by Jeff Wadlow and written by Jeff Wadlow and Bo Bowman. Jeff Wadlow was actually a winner for the first ever Chrysler $1 Million Film Festival. So that is how he got this money to make the film. So him and his friend co-wrote the script. They actually graduated school together. So they had been friends for a while, and they decided to make this movie together. So that $1 million budget we heard of was actually a winning prize from a sweepstakes. So
oh my gosh, that's so cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So money well spent. Obviously, this is a passion project from the get-go. So the fact that they were able to put all this together for that $1 million and, make the movie they did, congratulations to them.
Very impressive.
Yeah. The film stars Julian Morris as Owen, Lindy Booth as Dodger, Jared Padalecki as Tom, Jesse Jansen as Randall, Paul James as Lewis, Sandra McCoy as Mercedes, Ethan Cohn as Graham, Christy Wu as Regina, Erica Yates as Becky, Gary Cole as Mr. Matthews, and to round out the cast, we have John Bon Jovi as Rich Walker, Owen's dad.
I was like, this is the only person I recognize.
Thanks, John Bon Jovi. Lauren, were you shocked to see John Bon Jovi in this film? Like, did you have any idea?
Yeah, I had no idea he acted in any movies ever.
That's awesome.
Was this his only movie?
That's actually a really good question. I believe it was his first one. So if he has done things since, that's pretty cool. But obviously he had very little screen time in this movie, but I don't feel like he necessarily did a bad job with what he had going on. So
no, he didn't do bad at all. And I was like, okay, hot teacher.
Wait, what's Owen's name again?
In real life, Julian Morris.
Was he?
Yes. On an I think 1 or 2 episodes.
Yeah. Okay.
He was also in Pretty Little Liars. He played what's-her-face's sister's boyfriend, Ren.
I never watched.
I never watched that either.
I watch a lot of TV.
No, that's good.
I do too.
It's a good show. It's very frustrating, but yeah, it's a good show.
Hell yeah. Yeah, doing some research on the cast and stuff. Julian Morris, who plays Owen, was definitely on New Girl. He's more recently in The Morning Show with Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon. He had a very small part, but I do remember his role, and I actually didn't even realize it was him. So that's pretty cool. Nice. Yeah. So that's our fun little cast of characters. We'll obviously reference them a lot throughout the film. So if you know who these actors are, you can envision them as we're speaking on the film. Lauren, what is your background on Cry Wolf? Did you know anything about it before me being like, hey, let's watch this movie called Cry Wolf? No. Lauren, your microphone has disappeared.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. There you are. Hello.
Oh my God.
Welcome back. Now you have to repeat yourself.
Yeah, I've never, this is not a surprise, but I've never heard of it, never seen it, didn't get the marketing. I didn't get any of it.
Man, so you knew nothing.
I had no idea what it was.
I'd be the guy in school. If we went to school together, I'd be like, there's this movie coming out this week called Cry Wolf, and we're going to go see it, okay?
And I'd be like, my mom won't let me see it.
I think me and Brittany. Well, I think I would have to come
out and go see it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would come sneak you guys out, and then we would go see it because that was what high school is all about, right?
Well, actually, at this point, I think I had graduated high school because
I graduated in
2005, so I could have seen it.
Yeah, look, see, I was just. You didn't need no parent permission.
Yeah,
no, absolutely not. I was a junior in high school whenever this came out. So I could have seen it without asking, but I'd have been like, can I have money?
I need $8. I need $8 to go to the theater.
I know, back whenever it was actually cheap.
Yeah. I think it was like $7.50 a ticket back in 2005.
Yeah.
It makes
something
me
like
sad.
that.
Right.
I know, same.
The good old days.
Matinees.
AOL and matinees all the way. All the
way.
It's
like 3 pieces of popcorn for $7.50 now.
3 pieces? Where do you go? I get like 2 pieces. half of it's eaten already.
It's just in my hand.
Yeah, like cool.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, they pour the butter all over it. Yeah, good times.
Yeah, the butter costs nothing.
Yeah, the butter's fine. That's why they let you pour your own. They're just like, meh, no worries. As much as you want.
We don't need
that. Cry Wolf was at this time pretty popular. AOL was obviously the number one way to chat with your friends before, after, and sometimes during school. So that was a great way for this promo to happen. So I love that AOL got behind all this and helped make this movie happen and get the promo going and make it the moderate success that it was. So I actually have a fun, quick little story to tell you guys. We saw this movie, me and my friends, and we had another friend of ours who, I'm going to try to keep names out of this. He was a bored rich kid, as was mentioned of these characters in the film. And, this movie was being talked about so much that he decided to play a little game with us as well. And he created a instant messenger name, and he went by The General. Basically would send me and my friends, my little core group of friends, he would send us messages, and he would be like, I see you leaving your work right now. I like your red shirt, or something along those lines. So he was doing it to all of us, and we'd be at home and you'd hear the AOL messenger go off and you get excited, you got a message, you're like, there's my best friend, and then you would go over and it would be a message from the general, and it would be like, what a lovely night in, huh?
That's so spooky.
You had no idea it was him too, right?
No, so he was really good with technology. Obviously, he was a richer kid in school, so he had access to some things that maybe none of us did. But he could set timers, like set the times that messages would go off, including text messages and emails. Like he created an entire little, and this is when we were paying for text messages, guys. Like this.
That's 10 cents of.
Are you still friends with him?
I am not still friends with him. I mean, we're Facebook friends, but he probably wouldn't listen to this. But if he did, thanks for traumatizing us for a couple of weeks.
I hope he listens to it, because that's spooky and also kind of genius, but also really scary. Like, don't do that.
Really scary.
Right. So I had like my own. Me and my friends had like our own weird marketing for the film, because we were like, "Fuck, we're in the middle of Cry Wolf right now. Like, what's happening?" And it was never
spinning.
Yeah. So it was never anything, no, there was no threatening or anything, but it was always just kind of like we were being stalked. And I remember the final straw was me and my friends were at Texas Roadhouse, where I was working at the time. And we were all sitting at our table with our cheap ass like cell phone, LG chocolates sitting on the table. And all of a sudden, all of us got messages at one time. And
shut up.
It literally said, we're something along the lines of like, I'm in the parking lot waiting for you guys, or whatever. So
you were really terrified, right?
At this point, like towards the very end is when it got like really creepy. And we all were just like, well, we're going to go outside. And if there's somebody out there, like we will call the cops. Like we're going to make this a thing. We went outside and there was a car in the parking lot. It was like a big plaza. And there was a car on the other end and their high beams turned on and it started driving closer to us. And we all went back into Texas Roadhouse and we were like, blah, blah, blah. Like, we're like kind of freaked out. I went to my manager and, I mentioned I was going to call the cops, and he ended up revealing himself, and the general is now dead. But yeah, so that's my little silly connection to this movie. Yeah. Good times.
Yikes. What a friend.
That's scary.
Yeah.
I need to know
But
this guy's
also
name.
so crazy that it was like Gossip Girl before Gossip Girl, or Cry Wolf or during Cry Wolf, and
yeah,
just taking it from reality or retaking it from movies.
Yeah, it's definitely really insane. Like you said, the fact that you could pull all this stuff off was, at the end of the day, pretty cool. But at the same exact time, I'm like,
at the same, like when you're in it, you're like, no, thank you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, definitely not.
Cool. So thanks, Cry Wolf, for creating a real monster.
A monster. How real monster.
I hate it. All right, guys. So let's jump into this movie. Brittany, you've seen this movie multiple times. Lauren, you watched it last night, right?
I watched it today.
So
it was National Tequila Day at work, and I was there really late. And I fell asleep.
We love tequila.
Okay.
We love tequila.
Lauren, it's funny because when you told me that it was National Tequila Day, you had just gotten home. I was literally thinking to myself, I'm like, she's probably not going to watch it until the morning. So it'd be like real fresh in your head and you can really pay attention to it.
Real fresh in my head. Yeah, I woke up at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah.
I love that.
Dedicated to the pod. I love it.
Eating my oatmeal, watching Cry Wolf.
Beautiful.
Can't wait to hear what you thought of it. All right, guys, so getting into the movie here. Brittany, since you've seen it so many times, can you give me a little breakdown, just a general plot of what Cry Wolf is all about?
A general plot of Cry Wolf. It is a new kid on the block comes into the school in the friend group because his dad clearly didn't want anything to do with him. So he shipped him off and he just wants to fit in. So he basically plays a little game and gets into some crazy business when there's actually the biggest scandal on campus that it's like a mystery within a mystery.
Dun, dun, dun.
And are we crying wolf or are we actually telling the truth?
Are you the sheep or are you the wolf? Find
sheep.
out.
Find out here.
Well, I mean, clearly was the sheep, so it's fine. Everything's fine.
I don't think I would be able to be the wolf. Like you have to be real sinister for that.
I think I could. Is that okay to say?
Yeah. I mean, we all have a villain in us, but like, will we go that far? We'll
Will
see.
Like
we?
a sheep.
Will we?
I'm the shepherd, just like watching, like, ooh, it's gonna get messy.
I'd be
Get
knitting
real
my
messy.
sheepness.
Oh boy. All right, guys. So the movie Cry Wolf opens with a blonde girl, running through the woods. It's late at night. It's dark, and there is a person, assumingly, coming after her with a flashlight. She hides and uses some leaves to cover up her tracks. As the person who is coming after her gets closer and closer, we finally see the cell phone of the person that is following her go through a list of contact names and stopping on the name Becky. The person then goes ahead and clicks on the contact name, causing the girl who is hiding, Becky, her phone to go off. This obviously brings the person directly to her, and immediately a gun is pulled out and she is shot in the head by that person. What a great little opener.
Right? Like, grabs you in real quick.
It really does. Yeah, 2 minutes in, you're like, well, I'm not playing around anymore. It's more than just a game. So then we open up on the title card and we meet our protagonist, Owen. He is new to prep school, and that prep school is called Westlake. He arrives on campus, and the campus is seemingly pretty empty. He's looking around a little bit, and all he sees is a deer in the front courtyard. And we're just like, okay, cool. So this place has deer, but we see no students. And finally, the front door to one of the buildings opens up, and here we meet Dodger. Brittany, what was your first take on Dodger? Did you think she was someone sinister? Did you think she was a good person? Is she going to be our potential killer, or is she just a red herring? What did you think of Dodger during this opening scene?
Well, to rewatch it, knowing obviously what I know, I thought that she was just this girl she honestly doesn't feel like she fits in, because why is she on the outside of the campus when there's nobody around and she's just by herself? So the fact that he runs into her is very like, who's this girl? Maybe I can be friends with her because she's like me.
Yeah. What about you, Lauren? Your microphone has fallen asleep. Your microphone's playing games with you today. No, it still doesn't like you.
Okay.
Oh, there we are. Hello.
There it is.
It was red. I could definitely tell there's something not right with this girl.
Yeah.
I
She
didn't
seems
trust
sketchy.
her at all. Yeah, she's sketchy and I didn't trust her.
Yeah, I think this scene, like I said, this movie kind of jumps right into it, doesn't really linger or play around with anything that's going to be happening. So this is great dialogue, maybe slight flirting between the two of them. They kind of talk about their past a little bit in a quick conversation, a little breakdown. We learned that his dad doesn't really pay much attention to him. He's been jumping around from school to school. He might be a little bit of a bad boy. We learned that her mother is a Dickens scholar and her dad is, let's just say, not a scholar. So she basically doesn't have the best relationship with her dad. And this kind of sets up their little relationship, their open dialogue together to kind of start this friendship in a sense. And just then a door opens up and we learn that all the kids are in assembly. They are meeting because of a recent incident that happened where a young blonde girl had went missing in the woods. It has been 24 hours now, and they still have not found the body. The teacher wonders why Dodger is not in this assembly, and Owen kind of sticks up for her, and he's like, comes to the rescue, knight in shining armor, and is like, I'm new to the area. She's just showing me around, and kind of helps her out there. So, again, just a quick background to what we're dealing with, character wise and everything. So, and we jump to his dad. He's giving his dad a phone call, letting him know that he's made it safely. He's on campus, but his dad decides not to take his call. So we do kind of figure out that there's a broken relationship here. And we go back to Owen meeting his roommate for the first time. It is Jared Padalecki.
Swoon.
Yeah, he just
Corey's worst boyfriend. I'm just gonna say that.
Oh.
Sam Winchester, my adored love.
Oh boy. So Jared Padalecki plays Tom. He is Owen's roommate, and you can tell just from the start that he's a jokester. He goes to shake Owen's hand, and right as Owen goes to shake his hand, he says, "I just beat off." So super nice.
He's so gross.
He is.
Gross.
That's one thing about this movie too, and I think both of you could probably agree with me. Some of the dialogue, some of the references, some of the terms they use are unfortunately very, very 2000s.
Marry with the times back then, yeah.
Yeah. And, Zach and I watched the movie again last night, and we were talking about how, a lot of people criticize the dialogue, not just because of those terms and the things they use, but unfortunately, this was how kids talked back then. Like, this is...
Yeah. I mean, this is how kids talk today.
Yeah, that's also very true. So I do think the people that criticize the writing of this film, I don't think really quite understand that these are how teenagers talk. Yeah, and I also have read a lot about people talking about how they don't like that the kids are all mean to each other because they're friends. And I do feel like it's friendly roasting. I'm not saying that the terms and stuff they use for one another politically correct or something that I would want to call my friends. But I do think that friendship roasting, it's common in some of my friend groups as well. We just kind of like tease each other. And I think we all have people in our lives like that. And it's never anything serious. So I think kudos to the writers for kind of capturing that essence, especially at that time. So
yeah. And you can tell that they've known each other for the last 4 years, that they are in this situation where their family life might not be that great, because even Tom says something about his dad being a senile drunk. So like these kids clearly don't have the best lives, even though they're in a prep school. Yeah. So like, like they know each other better than people in their everyday lives.
Yep. Yeah, very true. Tom, we cut to Tom waking Owen up from sleep. He has his hand covering his mouth. And Owen then also says, "I hope you washed that hand."
Say it with a British accent.
Oh no, we don't want to get into that right now. I'll mess it up. I can't do that stuff on the moment. Just be like, be very embarrassing. So Tom lets Owen know that they need to leave. It's the middle of the night. He has something that they like to do. They're going to meet people in the chapel. And Owen's like, "What, for Bible studying in the middle of the night? Like, I don't understand." So Tom's like, "Well, Dodger wants you to come." So now Owen immediately perks up and he's like, "I'll be there." So here we are entering the chapel and we are introduced to the friend group. And in this friend group, two people I do want to call out is Randall. Randall is kind of the stereotypical class clown, jokester, kind of, pushes the envelope a little bit of what he can say, what he should and shouldn't say. And then we also have Lewis. He is an aspiring actor, so he's really excited to be doing what they're about to do. So before, whenever decide what episodes I want to do for this podcast, I always make little promo pictures, and I try to tease it for my huge audience I have. And it's fun. I get excited doing it, so I usually end up messaging some of the actors from the movies and just kind of let them know I'm doing an episode on this. You'll probably never see this. However, this is what my podcast is about. I keep it really short. I keep it really breezy. I just kind of say, if you are willing to give me a voice recording or even just, type out a quote about the making of the film or a memory that you had, I would love for you to share it with me. And I actually got two of the actors to respond, which I think is amazing that they took time out of their day to even entertain the idea of, a little amateur podcaster talking about movies he loves. So I definitely wanted to share those with you guys. First, awesome. First I have Jesse Jansen. Jesse Jansen is Randall. I was just talking about, the class clown. He wanted to let me know that Sandra McCoy, who plays Mercedes, became one of his very best friends, and the whole cast. Yeah, the whole cast became very close. She ended up remaining one of his very close friends, and he even officiated her wedding 11 years ago.
Wow,
that's so cute.
So cute.
Yeah. He also said that the whole cast was flown out to Virginia a week before production started so that they could rehearse and get to know one another, which I think, as you said, Brittany, really established their friendship, off screen as well. So you said you felt like, in the film, they seemed like they had been friends for a long time. I think something like that definitely helped behind the scenes to establish that friendship on screen.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome that they did that.
Yeah. He also said that Jared, Sandra, and himself had a laughing fit during reshoots for the scene in the chapel, which is where we're at in the film. It's where Owen meets everyone for the first time. He said, "We always recovered in time for action, but I honestly thought we were going to ruin several takes."
Aww.
So again,
I love
establishing
stories like that.
establishing their friendship there. They're having a good time on. He also mentioned that he grew up in Blacksburg, Virginia, and a lot of kids that he went to elementary school and middle school with were attending Richmond University, where they shot the film. Everyone knew that he wanted to be an actor growing up, so it was a real dream come true to visit while they were shooting the film, because it was an actual movie and he had made it. I even mentioned to him, that's awesome. You know, you have this big dream. You tell your friends growing up, I'm going to be a movie star one day, and to actually be, you know, close to your hometown and doing that, and them seeing it, not even like in a bragging way, just kind of like, you know, man, I really made it. I did something for myself. So I think that was pretty cool. He added in there as well. And he also mentioned that the whole cast got along so well, and most, if not all of them, are still in contact to this day.
Aww, I love that.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so I think that was awesome that he did that. And then I also had Paul James reach out to me. Paul James is the actor Lewis. He's the guy I mentioned that was an aspiring actor, you know, in character. So he actually sent me a voice memo, which I'd like to share with you guys. Just give me one second. I'm going to hit play on that.
This is so cool. Yeah, Cry Wolf was like one of the greatest experiences of my life. It was my first audition that I ever went on when I moved to LA. I met my acting coach there that I was just emailing with last night. I still talk to a bunch of the cast members. Me and Lindy Booth are really close. We help each other with auditions. I just saw Jesse Jansen a couple weeks ago. I mean, I really am in contact with most of those people. And it was like summer camp. We had a blast. We would play Mafia all the time. Chrysler sponsored it, and they gave us these convertibles that we drove around when we were there. We would go out to dinners. I was shot in Richmond, Virginia before this flooded. It was a really cool place called Shucko Bottom. The crew was great. It was like this Richmond crew. And Bon Jovi was really cool. We were all really excited. That role hadn't been cast for a couple weeks when we started. And when it finally got cast, we bought a Bon Jovi CD and drove around in our convertible singing the lyrics. And after a while, it became evident that I knew the lyrics to like the deeper cuts on the Greatest Hits album. Because I lived in New Jersey, and Bon Jovi was the first tape that I got like in the late 80s. So I'm like a big old Bon Jovi fan. So I definitely peppered in with specific song questions. And it was really great. You know, Seth Gordon was the editor. He's like a big director now. Jeff has a movie every year. That's awesome. And that crew was so special, as was the cast. And I have such love for every single person involved in it.
Yeah, so that was awesome.
That's awesome.
So nice.
You know, and he kind of said the same thing. They all had formed a really good friendship. And I also love his story about how he absolutely loved John Bon Jovi's music and didn't even know the role was being cast to him. So for John Bon Jovi to be a part of the film that he was in, I think that's...
He was probably so starstruck. Excuse you?
For sure.
You're here?
Like, wait a minute. He'd be like, let's go to karaoke, guys.
Yes.
I wonder if they're texting about you right now, Dave, being like,
oh boy,
this podcaster reached out to me.
Yeah, did he reach out to you, man?
Did he reach out to you?
But honestly, I want to know that conversation.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they check this out and get to hear our love for the film and Lauren's possible love for the film. We'll find out towards the end of the episode for her reaction shot.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so back to the movie. I just wanted to share that with you guys. I thought it was really great that those two actors reached out and were passionate about, you know, me doing this as well. So cool. All right, back into the film. So again, we're getting introduced to all these characters here. Again, I think this scene as well is a great way of establishing who these characters are, giving us a little bit of background. One girl, Regina, they constantly tease her about being a bitch, and she's very sarcastic, and I love her sarcasm. I would probably be her best friend, to be honest. So, so here, Owen's basically like, what are we doing here? And Dodger, who seems to be in charge of what's happening, said that they're going to play a game, and the point of the game is to avoid suspicion, manipulate your friends, and eliminate your enemies. Sounds fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
No. Like we play Candyland or something.
So cheap of you, Lauren. I would definitely, actually, I think I would just be the shepherd, to be honest, because I would like to make this game as fun as possible.
I know, just to pin each other against each other.
Yeah.
I love it.
Lauren, what did you think was happening here? Since you didn't really know much about this movie, you see they're about to play a game and they're manipulating their friends, they're eliminating enemies. What were your thoughts in this moment?
Well, first I had to like pause it a few times so I could understand the rules. I'm like, wait, what? The sheep and what? Wolf, what? I can't. I have to understand it, you know?
Fair.
And I felt like they explained it really fast. So I was like pausing and
taking it all in.
Because then all of a sudden he has that mark on his chest, and you're like, "Is he a shepherd? Is he a wolf? Like, what's happening? Where are we?"
I thought she'd put like a W for wolf,
right?
I don't know.
I thought they were incorporating Pictionary, and she started something and then just didn't finish.
Then that would be fun too. I love Pictionary.
That would be Lauren's version.
Charades.
Yes, the Pictionary version.
Yeah. All right. So the game starts. She is going to select her wolf, and Brittany, can you explain the game a little bit for the listeners?
I'm so glad you didn't ask me that question.
I think I can explain it. So basically, the wolf is chosen, and the townspeople, we'll call them the shepherds, have to figure out who's the wolf and who is, well, I guess just who's the wolf. But if the accuser accuses the wrong person and they get accused, then they're out. So each time it eliminates a person, and then you're left with the last person. And if you get the wolf, you get a prize. So I don't really know what their prize.
Yeah. So in the small scale version of the game they're playing right here in the chapel, they all threw money in. So their prize is
That's what it was.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it was like $5 here. Well, I don't know. The rich kids, maybe it was like $100 here.
Or like a 50.
Yeah, 50. I want to play with the rich kids.
I
know. Yeah. So they select a wolf. Everyone else is a sheep, and then Dodger is the shepherd. So we, as an audience, see who the wolf is, and that is Owen. She uses her lipstick to draw a line on his chest. So whenever they are assumed to be the wolf and they're getting ready to exit, they have to lift up their shirt to show if they were the wolf or not. Pretty fun game. It actually goes back to a really popular game back in the day called Mafia. It essentially was the same exact thing. And we were actually talking about how on Netflix right now they have that game show called The Mole, and that is also very similar to the game they're playing. There's a mole in the group, and they're trying to guess who that person is through a series of different games and types of strategies. So
they used to have that show back in like the early 2000s.
Yes, yeah,
The Mole.
Yeah, you're correct. Yeah, it's I feel like the Mafia game, I don't know if that was the OG version of the game, but they do refer to kind of, taking the Mafia game and spinning it around and making it the way that it is. So here we
and
go
there's
with
a
that.
game called Werewolf, which is the same thing as Mafia. There's werewolves, there's it's so great. I make people play it and they're like, we don't want to play this, Brittany. It takes too long. I'm like, no, it's great.
I want to play.
It's so fun. And I always want to be the wolf just to like deceive people. It's the best.
Did you guys like play these games in like your high school, like Mafia and?
Girl, I was talking about the general.
Right? He was playing his own game. They put him in his own game. I never really played stuff like that until I was in like my 20s.
Okay. I was like, am I missing out? We played like the Spork game.
The what?
Spork?
The Spork
was
game.
great.
I don't even know what that is.
You had like a spork, and if you didn't have the spork and you got spork, then you would lose. I would watch people play that game, and I'm like, I can't be a part of that.
I never played it myself. I just watched people play it.
But it was intense. Like people would see you out in like the wilderness, not in school, and just be like, "Spork," and you're like, "What?" I'm with my family. Chill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Weird.
Okay.
So strange.
I would have been more of a Cry Wolf game player, but Spork sounds great.
I did not play it.
That's right. You watched them.
I just watched.
She was a witness.
She was a witness. She was a shepherd in her own right. All right. So they're playing the game, and basically now they are accusing one another of who the wolf could be. Even in this dialogue alone, we're starting to get to know a little bit more of their personalities and their character tropes. And we get our first person, and they say, basically, they say that Randall is the wolf. So they accuse Randall of being the wolf. He says, you guys are absolutely crazy, lifts up his shirt, doesn't have a mark, so he is not the wolf, so he is out. He threatens Owen and says, this is, you think you're clever and can play these games, just you wait, like you haven't met your match yet.
He called him a pretty boy. He said, you wait, pretty boy.
How Randall of him.
So Randall.
So Randall. So then we jump over to the next accuser, and basically in this moment, Graham is saying that he thinks Owen is the wolf. He's the new boy. Dodger wanted to bring him in, so it's so obvious that it's him. So right before everyone else starts voting, Owen's like, well, wait. I have my own defense, and I want to say that whenever someone lies, you always have a tell. And the tell that he says Graham has is that Graham keeps taking a swig from his beer bottle, even though it's empty. So every time he would speak, he would take a swig from the beer that was empty. So Graham's like, oh shit. So this convinces everyone else Owen is correct, that Graham is absolutely wrong in the situation, and he's accused, and he is not the wolf. So he heads on out, and now he's been eliminated, and we kind of see that Owen is pretty clever with calling people out and all of that, because we know that he is the wolf. So good job, Owen. Then we do a quick fast cut, and we kind of jump through the rest of the characters really quick in a very quick sequence, and we get down to the final three. Basically, the final three we have, of course, is Owen, we have Lewis, and Mercedes. So Lewis and Mercedes are dating, and ultimately they assume that Mercedes is the wolf, and she is then eliminated.
She's pissed. She said,
Yeah.
how
She
dare
is pissed.
you?
And
how dare you side with that man and not believe me?
Right. And I just think it's so funny. It's silly dialogue, but I just love when she stands up and looks at Lewis, her boyfriend, and she basically says, congratulations, baby. Tonight you could have gotten laid. And then she flashes the other people in the room and she says, but instead you got fucked. And then she pieces out.
And then he's like, wait a minute. No, I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, so he chases after her and he's like, no, baby, I want to get laid. And now Owen is the winner of the game. Congratulations. So the game is over. The movie ends. End credit. That's Cry Wolf. No, I'm just kidding. But that is the end of that's the introduction to the game that they play. And we basically learn, as Owen's picking up the money, he doesn't quite understand why they like to do this to one another. They like to torment each other, like to pick on each other. And he says, basically, I feel like you guys are just all a bunch of poor rich kids. And, she takes offense to that. And she's like, these are my friends. Like, these poor rich kids, or I'm sorry, these bored rich kids are my friends.
Bored, yeah.
So she's kind of pissed and she walks off, and Owen's like, oh shit. Cut to the morning time, see the ongoing investigation of the police looking for the missing person, Becky, and they stumble across a hand that has been chewed up in the woods.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so did you vomit, Lauren?
How long has it been? It's been, what, 2 weeks since she went missing? 10 days? I feel like somebody says how long it's been.
When Owen's on the bus or the train going to the school at the very beginning, right after that scene, it says that she's been missing for 24 hours. So it's definitely been a couple of days for sure.
Okay.
Because we've had a couple mornings and nights in between, but they do discover the body. All we see as the audience is her hand sticking out of the leaves. It's half eaten or blown off or whatever it might be. We learn that that a bunch of wolves found her and started chewing on her body and dragged her through the woods.
Did they say they said something gross, didn't they?
I forget exactly what the dialogue is, but yeah, I mean, they basically say that those wolves just chewed her up and dragged her through the woods. So I think that was to establish the fact that there's not really any evidence of who could have actually committed the crime. So that was their help there. Owen wakes up and his alarm clock is unplugged, and on his alarm clock, so rude, on his alarm clock is a note saying, can you tell that you're out of your league? And basically one of the guys, unplugged his alarm clock, so he's late for his first day of class. He ends up running through campus, ends up in the journalism class, and his journalism teacher is John Bon Jovi, but the actual character name is Rich Walker. So Mr. Walker is running this journalism class. He doesn't really seem too annoyed that Owen is late to the classroom. Basically says, life happens, just take a seat and start paying attention. As he is going through his class, Owen gets an instant message. The volume on his computer is up super high, and the whole entire class knows that he got a notification, including Mr. Walker. Mr. Walker looks over at him and is like, what the hell, bro? Like, at least pay attention. You relate to my class. The instant message that we see is from a screen name BoPeep05, and that person says, you look like death. And then she said, mute the alert, Einstein. Well, Owen finally turns that volume off, and he asks who this person is, and we come to find out that it's Dodger, who's in the same class. She's sitting at 10 o'clock of him, and he notices, and gets a little smile on his face. She has a little smile on hers. All this classroom flirting over AOL. Gotta love it.
So nostalgic. Don't we think classroom? Like, what the heck?
Right.
But also, don't we think it's a little sketchy that she has his screen name? Like, where did you get it from? He's new. It's not like you guys have exchanged anything. Like,
that's honestly
especially
very true.
because he doesn't actually know. He doesn't know that it's her. So, like, how do you have my information, ma'am?
Yeah. She's a little creepy girl. That's what she is.
Little creepy girl.
Don't trust her. I'm gonna
at all. Never.
If I were him, I would dodge her friendship.
We got jokes.
Dad jokes for days.
We love it. We always love dad jokes around here. So at this point, Mr. Walker continues his journalism class. He's talking about a recent development, which he's referring to the discovery of Becky's body in the woods. Here we get to the cafeteria. Owen's learning all about this mystery missing woman. We get a little bit more dialogue through the cast of friends. Randall is going away for the weekend to get laid by some girl that's from out of town, and he's super excited about it.
Probably never existed. She didn't
probably
exist.
Never. Definitely did not exist. Her name was.
No, she existed.
Oh yeah, he does call her. Yeah. Well. Yeah, we'll find out. Her name's Jenny Ryder, so he's real excited to go see Jenny Ryder. This establishes that Randall's going to be heading out of town. He's going to borrow Tom's car. Tom must be the super rich boy who gets all of his stuff from mommy and daddy. So Randall borrows the keys to Tom's car, and this kind of establishes their friendship here. So we learned that they're getting a little bit bored playing these little chapel games, and Dodger comes up with the idea that she wants to elevate the game and play with the whole school. She says something along the lines of that if you play with the whole school, that they're the sheep and they're the wolves. So this group of friends decide they want to be the wolves and play the game with the whole school, and they're just kind of confused as to how that game would play out. So like what exactly would be happening by doing that. And she says, you have no imagination. It's like you're playing checkers and I'm playing chess.
She every single time she says something crazy, you're just like, girl, you kill that girl, because like you sound like it.
Yeah. That's one of the things that people make fun of dialogue wise. Like, sure, it's corny, but if we're just having a fun film here, like these people are playing a game with the school, she's kind of the puppeteer here. So I think that line shows the fun intention of the film, that it's enjoyable, a little witty. I don't really have a problem with that line. I think it's
me
clever.
Either. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, I think it establishes her as
the ringmaster of that whole thing. Yeah. Like she's ready to play a game.
Yeah. Yep. Head bitch in charge for sure. Ringmaster of the game. So basically, she basically says, like, let's come up with something. And Owen's like, well, you know what? I have a really good idea. And he talks about how he could come up with creating a killer and make this almost like an urban legend that Becky is not the first person to be killed, therefore making a serial killer. So they're going to create a killer. And man, these are demented children.
Right? It's like, you really think about it, like you're just out there making up a story about a killer. Meanwhile, you're like, no, don't. This is not normal.
It's not. And when I was seeing this in the film, I'm just like, oh, that just sounds like fun. Like it's like the intention of what they're doing is like fun and games, but obviously, as adults, thinking about what they're doing is definitely not a very good thing. And
it just shows our age, really. It's fun.
Yeah, for sure. Growth. Like, God. Yeah, so Owen comes up with the idea to create this killer, again, like an urban legend on campuses. They decide to create the killer physically in form through an email message that would be forwarded to Owen, that Owen would then share with the entire school. So Owen makes a fake account that he writes an email and sends to himself. And in that email, him and Dodger are coming up with the descriptions of what this killer is. They decide to create him and go by the name of the Wolf. They give him a camouflage jacket, an orange hunting ski mask, and a hunter's knife. So I think that's, kind of an original take on a killer. The killer's not really wearing a mask. They're using a knife for more intimate kills as opposed to the gun that the actual killer used to kill Becky. And they talk about going on prep school campuses, and this person kills a townie and then ends up going for the rest of the people in the school. So they decide to forward this email to the rest of the school. We see a couple shots of different people around the campus a couple shots of people around the school opening up this email and reading it, while we're also getting a shot of the group of friends talking about the different murders that this person performed. So here we're learning about the fake kills that they are creating in their mind using each other's characters. So they have Mercedes in a bathroom getting murdered by the Wolf. They have Lewis, the aspiring actor, in the stairwell of the drama room, getting killed by the Wolf. And they also have Dodger getting her tongue slit and choking on her chopped up tongue, and Owen getting shot in the heart as dying from a broken heart. So they kind of come up with all these things about different people who have died to kind of create this whole entire story. And now everyone on campus has this email, so they are all aware of what this killer looks like, what to look out for. And since it is a full moon weekend and Halloween, what a perfect time to start. Yeah, what a perfect time to start. What a perfect time to start, tricking everyone. Halloween season's here, so
it's spooky season.
It's spooky season. Might as well create a killer and put him on the campus.
Yeah, always classic.
Yeah. So Lauren, what were you thinking at this point in time? So we've established what they're doing. What were you thinking at this moment?
How dumb. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a scaredy cat, but I would never do that.
I love it.
Cracks me up. I don't know if I would
That's
do
not
this,
how I
but
feel about the film, though.
Yeah, but it's scary. It's scary to think that could happen in a high school. No,
absolutely. I love the fake email account that Owen made, that it got forwarded to him. The subject is murder on campus. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah, okay.
You really jumped to the subject right there.
Straightforward.
Yeah. So next scene, we see Mr. Walker, played by John Bon Jovi, and he is basically telling Owen that he knows that the email that he received for this forwarded message from Owen is fake, and that he's playing a game, and he knows that Owen's a troublemaker, especially in from his past schools, and basically tells him, you can't keep playing these games. Meanwhile, they're playing chess as they're having this conversation.
Chess.
Yeah, Dodger set that one up for us. So so they're playing chess out as he's telling him, you can't play these games from other schools, getting kicked out and causing problems. But he basically says, I'm going to keep this between us. I'm not going to make waves. Just don't end up in the headmaster's office, or you're probably going to get kicked out of school. Brittany, at this point in time, what about you? What were you thinking the first time you saw it?
The first time I saw it, I immediately questioned the teacher. I said, there's something wrong with him.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
He seems so invested in these kids' lives, and not in a way like a teacher is. I feel like he wants to know who knows what about this girl, because there's something about Becky.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, we obviously don't know what's still happening, but he's always there. And same with the man who is always doing lawn work. Why is he always in the background of things? Who are you?
Yeah,
why are we watching these kids?
They definitely have a red herring throughout the film. We constantly see a janitor lurking around, watching the kids do their day in and day out activities on campus, and immediately we're like, could be the teacher, it could be the janitor, could be some random person in the school.
It could be we haven't even met yet. It could be one of the kids. It could be Tom, because he's in everybody's business, just acting.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
much like Scream, they kind of give each and every person that you meet a little bit of suspicious undertones to them. Brittany, you said earlier that we all have a little villain in us, so those are usually brought to light in some capacity to make the audience, guessing throughout the film who that person might be that killed Becky. So
yes. And Dodger is still very you can tell she's annoyed with the friend group because they're not doing what she wants to do. And it's like, well, why do you want to actually play this game?
Yeah, like
what's happening?
Yeah, like what is the point?
Yeah.
What's the outcome going to be?
To impress the new guy who they have. I really like their chemistry, like Lindy and Julian's chemistry together throughout the movie. But at the same time, like, no, she's bad. Stop talking to her.
Yeah.
Dodger is bad.
Yeah, I agree. They definitely have some good chemistry there. So back in the dorm room, Owen is sitting in front of his laptop. I'm sorry, his school computer, and he gets a AOL instant message from a new person, and that person's name is Wolf. And it says, "Be careful what you wish for." So Owen's a little confused, like, all right, so now someone new's messaging me, the name's Wolf. Obviously, someone's playing a prank on me. We're all playing games here. Owen responds, "Oh, I'm scared." The Wolf says, "You should be." Lauren, would you be mortified at this moment in time?
Absolutely.
Her computer's already off.
Yeah, sure.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I'm done. Nothing to do with this. I'm going to sit in the corner of my room with a blanket over me with a flashlight and read my book. That's what I'm doing.
Excellent.
Meanwhile, here's me. I'm like sending it to all my friends. Like, who is this person?
Yep. Who is it? So he assumes it is his roommate, Tom, because Tom's always playing pranks. So he says, "Give it up, Tom." And just as he says that, the door flies open and Tom walks in the room. So, well, it's not Tom. So here's Tom. He's, brought to the attention that Owen just received an instant message from Wolf. And Tom's basically like, this is obviously Dodger playing a game with you. Like, would 100% create a screen name called Wolf. So he's like, let's play with her and give it back to her. The Wolf then says, "Did Tom help you do this?" And they just sit there and accuse all the people in their friend group that they were a part of it. And he says a couple of ignorant things about his friends and says, "What are you going to do about a dog face?" And just then the looks on their face, once they get the response that we haven't seen yet, kind of goes a little scared. And we see the response, and the Wolf says, "I will pick your bones clean like that bleach blonde slut."
That's what I was referring to. Pick your bones clean.
There you go, Lauren. Pick your bones clean like that bleach blonde slut. Very, very ghost face of the Wolf, if I do say so myself.
Like, you're getting nitty gritty, sir. Chill.
Right. So they assume it's Dodger playing a game with them, regardless of the, disgusting message they just received. We got the Dodger who is in the gymnasium swimming in the school's pool. She's doing laps. She thinks she hears some noises in the gym, in the pool area, and she looks around, doesn't see anything. And as she's swimming, all of a sudden there's some really loud sounds, and we see that there are big blocks of ice being thrown into the pool near her, and it's scaring her. So she, slows down a little bit during her swimming. We realize that it's Owen and Tom throwing big pieces of ice into the pool to definitely try to scare her, kind of get her back in her own game. But once she realizes, so psychotic, and he says, "Tom, be careful, don't hit her." So of course, at this moment in time, I think Dodger's on to their little game, so decides to flip the game again, and she pretends that she got hit. So Owen's like, "I think you hit her," and they go down to the pool, and Owen jumps into the pool in his full school uniform and pulls her out of the water, brings her up, and right before he goes to do mouth to mouth, she spits a bunch of water in his face and says, "Gotcha." Here we learned that Dodger is usually one step ahead of everybody else. She says, don't play these games with me. I'll definitely do whatever. They said that you played a game with us first with the instant messengers. And she's like, no, that wasn't me. She mentions that she was doing AP Bio, I think, studying with Mercedes. So that, makes her no longer the person that is actually in charge. So they're like, okay, this person wasn't them. So now they can start going through the friend group to try to figure out who did these messages. And in dialogue with these people, they start to learn that a lot of these people are not the people who sent that message. So there might actually be someone off campus or not in their friend group that is sending these messages. So he comes back to the dorm room to see a note on his door that says, "Please come see me in the RA office." So now he's like, oh shit. He goes into his dorm room and sees that his entire room is trashed. Tom is sitting in the corner, but the odd thing that we see is that Tom's side of the dorm is completely demolished when Owen's side is kept perfectly clean. So this This pisses Tom off pretty bad. And as they're getting ready to get into a really heated argument with Owen saying that he was not a part of this, there's the AOL Instant Messenger sound, and they look at the screen, and the wolf has sent a message that says, "I ate your friend." And on the laptop is one of Randall's piercings with a bunch of blood on it on top of his laptop. So that's cool. Now we've upped this game.
Tom licking it like a little weirdo. He's like, it tastes weird. Like, why did you?
Not as sweet as last time.
Yes, that. Like, I'm pretty sure that's his eyebrow ring.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Tom's like, basically, we're learning that this group of friends plays a lot of pranks on one another, like to play games. So Tom licks the piercing, like Brittany said, and we as an audience are like, oh shit, we think this is definitely a real piercing here, and you just licked some real blood, so that's cool. Makes a phone call to Regina and says, I think he calls her like Regenius or something, and says, it's really clever, but we're not here to play your game. Owen meets up with Dodger and says, I'm on to you guys. It's over. Like, we took it one step too far. You have a, whatever. So why are you doing this? She pulls him away, and they end up in the school library. And one neat thing about the school library is it has motion detecting lights. So if you're standing still, the lights are out. Is that
neat, or is that super scary? Because I would be horrified.
When I was in the movie theater, I was like, that's so cool, because I don't know if I'm sure I've never not seen anything like that before, but I don't think I've ever seen it like really portrayed the way that it is in this movie. And being a fan of horror films, I'm like, oh, like what a genius idea to put a little cat and mouse game inside of the library. You see the lights getting closer and closer to you as you're remaining still, and if that person's going to find you. Lauren and I used to work together at a restaurant at a mall in South Hills, and the hallways, like the delivery hallways on the insides of the mall for shipments and everything, had those types of lights. And I remember taking Lauren down there one time, and in my mind, I'm thinking of Cry Wolf, and knowing that she had never seen it. I'm like, Lauren, why is that light on over there? Me being a little asshole.
Used to scare the crap out of me.
Yeah, I used to. I would be this friend. I mean, honestly, at this point, I might just be Dodger. Dodger light. Okay. Lauren used to go down an elevator to go down to what we called the basement of the mall for storage, and I would run down the steps as fast as possible so I could be on the other side of the door. So when the elevator would open up, I go.
But also, I would be you doing that, Dave, and also you, Lauren, being horrified.
Oh God, it was terrifying.
Simultaneously, like I can scare myself if I'm trying to scare somebody else.
I love it.
But yeah, those lights would. I couldn't. I would have to run.
Yep.
Because who's down here with me? Everything has been dark, and all of a sudden, it's just on, and it's coming towards me. No.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. So while they're in the library, kudos to the cinematographer for this scene, shooting it the way they do. Like the blacks are definitely really black, so it's pitch black in here. You can't see anything until those lights start coming on, and they realize that there's someone there with them. Owen thinks that he sees someone dressed in cargo jacket and a brown ski mask over their face with a hunter's knife. So Owen's like, "Fuck, this is actually coming true." The wolf is sending me messages. There's someone in the room with us. They look exactly like the wolf that we quote unquote created. So he tells Dodger, keep quiet. Let's stay hidden. And they decide to remain still. So the lights go out around them. And we notice that the lights away from them start coming on and getting closer and closer and closer until finally the light turns on right next to them. Big jump scare. It's the librarian, and she tells them to go to a different aisle for more privacy for hooking up. So that's very nice of her.
Right? And they were about to make out.
They
finally found that connection.
I was like, how romantic is this library right now?
I know. Like, I was low-key, like, really wanting the kiss to happen, and then I was like, actually, I don't, because she's still sketchy.
Yeah,
she's still sketchy, but you know.
But it was the moment.
He's so cute.
I know it was. He is, and he's British, and I'd be like, yeah, kiss her.
Yeah, so the kiss almost happened. The librarian scared them, and unfortunately, the kiss did not happen. So they get out of the library. They head back out. It is now nighttime, and they just have a little bit more conversation outside. We notice the janitor is watching them as they decide to part ways, and Owen realizes that he forgot his book bag in the library, of course. So he goes back in to get that book bag. Again, the lights are doing the thing they're doing, so he pieces out, heads straight to the librarian, and she says she has not seen that book bag. So now Owen's book bag is missing. Dun, dun, dun. So Owen basically is taking what he's experienced so far, such as finding Randall's piercing on the computer. He wants to see if this is really a prank. So he decides to call Jenny Ryder, who Randall was going to hook up with, and see if, he was there so he could talk to him and be like, stop playing these stupid games. It's not funny anymore. No one's laughing. So Jenny gets on the phone, and Jenny lets him know that Randall never showed up. So, she's pissed. She had a whole weekend planned with him, and he's like, do you know how to reach him? And she's like, no, he never showed up. He didn't say where he was going. Didn't say anything at all. He stood her up. So now he's like, well, shit, this might actually really, really be happening. He catches up with Mercedes, checks with her, see if she knows any information about things that are going on. Owen heads back into the school and decides to walk down a dark hallway, not turn any lights on, but it's fine. We can open our mind to the horror movie world. And he hears some voices, and through a window, he sees who we assume, because the windows definitely pixelated a little bit, but who we assume is Dodger and Rich Walker, John Bon Jovi's character, the journalist teacher. The two of them are chatting, and we see a kiss exchange between the two of them. So, man, now Owen's heartbroken. He realizes that Dodger is sleeping with his journalism professor, and now he's a sad panda.
Right. And it's such a scandal, like a teacher and a student.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm disappointed in John Bon Jovi.
I know. Agreed.
Man, if he would have responded to my Instagram message about this podcast, you guys could have told him that.
How do you feel about this role about being doing things with your student?
Yeah, Mr. Bon Jovi. What a fun name, John Bon Jovi.
I know.
I don't think it's his real name, though, right?
I don't think it is. I don't know what it is, though.
But that stage name.
That's a good stage name.
We love a good stage name. It is.
Yeah. We got back to class. We're actually in the journalist class now, and Owen just has a very pissed off demeanor. He
and a shit-eating grin.
Yep. He basically tells Mr. Walker like he did his assignment, but he emailed it to him. Just kind of being coy with him, kind of showing him that he knows some stuff. And Owen pulls his backpack back, and when he pulls it back, a hunting knife, actually falls out of the book bag, causing the class to go into hysterics in light of everything that's been happening with the actual murder of Becky, and then the quote unquote fake killer that is on campus. So this automatically throws suspicion people in the classroom that Owen had something to do with some of this stuff. And Mr. Walker tells Owen like it's time to go to the headmaster's room. I have to turn this in. This is absolutely ridiculous. And Owen lets him know that he knows about him and Dodger, basically not to play that game. So there's just, in this movie, there are just levels and levels of different games that these people are playing emotionally, physically. So now Owen has the upper hand here. Mr. Walker could lose his job if he turns Owen in with this knife that Owen claims is not his. So the tables just keep on turning. Yeah.
The carousel never stops turning.
Never. All right, Lauren. So where are you at while you're watching this? Where was your mind process at? Were you? So we're basically almost 50 minutes into this movie now. We have about 40 minutes left to go. And do you feel like this movie is moving super slow? Are you sucked into it? Are you wondering what's happening? Because when I read reviews of this film, I do have people that think this movie's very slow. So I'm interested to see if you feel the same, or if you were kind of glued to your seat.
No, I was kind of sucked into it at this point, and I think I created like 4 different ending scenarios in my head at this point. And I'm like, wait, this is just all fake, and then they're all going to be fine, and it's just a game. And I had so many scenarios, and then I'm like, no, it's that Dodger. And then I thought it was the teacher. Yeah. Okay. I had so many thoughts going through my head, and I was sucked in at this point for sure.
Gotcha. So now we're at they're all dressed up for Halloween, the Halloween weekend. Dodger is wearing a Little Red Riding Hood costume. How fitting. She would do that.
Mm-hmm. Wait, I never made the connection.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay, I get it now.
Owen decides not to participate in this Halloween event. So he is working as an assistant to the janitor and helping clean up the cafeteria. He has his headphones in, so he doesn't have to really listen to anybody. I'm assuming he probably had a Walkman or a very early prototype of the iPod at this moment in our
CD player.
I feel like it would have been like a Discman at this point.
Yeah. So he, hopefully it was the G-Shock anti-skip CD player. So
right, you take a step and it's game over.
Yeah, yep. It's like jumping every other John Bon Jovi word in his song. Yeah. So as there. Yeah. Oh shit! How times have changed. So Owen's cleaning up a little bit and happens to glance out the window, which, as we know, when it's really dark outside and really light in the building, you can't really see much outside that window. Owen turns back away from the window, back to doing what he was doing, and we see a figure get close to the window, and it is the wolf. The orange mask, the camouflage jacket, and now as an audience, we're like, well, here we are. We're in this big slasher moment. Owen's doing this thing. He thinks he hears a obviously starts investigating and runs into two girls making out in the closet. So very, very good of him to, discover something that has nothing to do with what is happening. So we are safe. He gets back to his work, and then we see someone creeping up behind him, and it is indeed the wolf, dressed exactly how they created him in the email. He turns around, he sees that the person is holding an actual hunter's knife. Owen immediately thinks it's Randall, and the wolf jumps towards Owen. A little bit of a scuffle here, a little cat and mouse chase scene throughout the school. He ends up locking the wolf outside of the back door, so he's nice and safe, and he goes to use his cell phone to make a phone call and drops the phone, and in true fashion, the phone breaks apart. He starts runs towards the Halloween party, and here we see a lot of people dressed up as the wolf, because as we know, a pop culture type thing, you create a horror movie, Michael Myers, Ghostface, people are going to latch onto that and they want to dress like those people. So because they very cruel joke.
I don't know why.
It is a cruel joke, because then you're just like, I don't even know who is the actual killer. And that's the big thing about like haunted houses that creep me out, because anybody can be in there.
Yeah.
And they can be dressed up and you're just like, oh, you're a character. Just kidding, you're real. Oh my God.
Yep. Oh, is that a real knife that just went into my stomach? Is that actually my blood?
Right?
Oh,
it's
good.
It's like, oh, this is hello.
Yeah, so I think that's really clever to add that in there, because, these teenagers are, obviously they're scared about the murder on campus, but they're also taking the idea of that killer and running with it. So some of them are dressed that way. So as you said, Brittany, it kind of creates this whole other element of fear, because who is actually the killer in the situation. So Owen ends up discovering that Tom's car is still in the parking lot, which signifies that obviously Randall was playing a joke. So Owen heads over to the car in the parking lot to try to escape this moment, and realizes there's actually blood on the inside of the car before he can get it started. And lo and behold, the wolf is right there in the car waiting to attack. Owen ends up getting chased by the wolf through a parking lot, jumping over cars, running around cars. There just so happens to be a cop on the other end of the parking lot. The cop finally draws his gun at the wolf and tells the wolf to drop the knife. And what did we discover?
Well, we discovered Lauren. Actually, you say it.
Yeah, Lauren, what happened?
Of who it is?
Yeah, so the cop made the wolf. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's Mercedes with a fake knife in the parking lot. I just said it like Clue.
You did. Good job.
Yeah. And Mercedes, like the fact that even was a scene, like first off, in 2024, nobody is waiting. You've already got shot.
Oh God,
which is crazy. And even in that time, like you're chasing somebody with a knife as a child, don't do that, because like there's a potential that you're gonna get got when you're just playing a prank.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. It's that's definitely a very, very risky prank to be playing, and Mercedes is very lucky that it played out the way that it did, because it could have ended up pretty bad.
Especially because the town had that email about a serial killer. Like,
Yeah.
You're out in public now.
Which is why the costumes should have been banned. But who am I?
Laura would have sent a follow-up email. Please make sure for the Halloween party this week you do not dress up as the wolf.
It's like, as the dean, I suggest you not be an idiot. Thank you so much.
Yep. So here we end up. The headmaster wants to meet with Owen and Mercedes about the prank that was just happened. She brings up Owen's history from other schools and essentially is like, we're not going to tolerate this. And, Mr. Walker is there to say that, something bad could have happened out of that entire situation. So we as an audience know. Here, the friend group's kind of a little divided, and Owen's just had enough. Like, we're not going to play this game anymore. That could have ended really badly. So he sends an instant message to the entire gang and says, midnight, period, chapel, period. We finished the game, period. I'm like, all right, Owen, period, man. Get it.
He's like, angry, period.
So, yeah, I'm pissed. I've had it. So here we are at the chapel. It's full moon. It's now the Halloween night. So this was exactly how they had it planned, that this would be the night that the quote-unquote fake killer would strike. And we've arrived at that scene. So we were at the chapel, and I said the friends all kind of seem to be divided, and they're talking about all the stunts that have been being played and how, some of them did play a couple little pranks. We learned that the person following them in the library was actually, I forget who was following them in the library.
I don't know if it's revealed yet, is it?
It might be Randall.
It was Regina.
Oh,
it was Regina.
It was Regina.
Yeah. It was Regina.
Yes.
Because she was trying to scare Dodger.
Yes.
That's what she said.
Yeah. She said, Dodger, I was trying to scare you. Basically, they decided to, up the game, and they wanted to play pranks on Owen and Dodger because they knew that they were kind of running this thing. So Owen's like, that's not just funny. And so now we just see that all these friends are just kind of playing the game with each other. So it's kind of like, God damn, that kind of fucked up, So, all right, now we're basically getting into the final act of the film. Dodger still seems to have the upper hand here, and he ends up being revealed in front of everyone from Owen. And Owen says, "You're the one who's screwing a teacher."
Which scandalous, because Regina's face is like, huh? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Part of me feels like with them trying to also play a prank on Dodger, like, as much as they know each other, I wonder why they chose her to play a prank on, even though, yeah, she's running it, but like, it's very specific that they go after her for some reason. Especially Regina's reaction with the teacher, because like, has there been something prior to this moment that people suspect?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Dodger looks at Owen and says, I went to Rich's, she refers to him as Rich because his name is Rich Walker. She says, I went to Rich's office. So she's not even referring to him as Mr. Walker. And she says, I went there to end it. And he says, I saw you kiss him back. And she said, what was I supposed to do? She basically accuses him of trying to take it a step further and do more than kissing with her. And, she says, I had to do what I had to do, and I got out of there, but thanks a lot for bringing it up in front of all of our friends. So she leaves the chapel extremely upset. Owen kind of feels the same way. Cut to Mercedes. She's upset too with everything that just happened, with her run-in with the police, and she's getting ready to go take a shower. She has her little shower caddy with her, and she's talking to Lewis on her cell phone, and basically saying how, she wishes they were together, so she's going to shower first. And he's like, oh, are you taking your clothes off? And she's like, yes, I'm taking my clothes off. And he's like, well, tell me all about it. She's like, I'm in my underwear. And he chuckles, and we're setting up a little scene here. And he's like, send me a picture. And she's like, all right, cool. So she grabs her little cell phone with a really shitty camera on it, and she takes
the most pixelated photo ever.
Yeah, so she takes this highly pixelated photo that seems to take 4 hours to send to Lewis. And as he finally receives image 32, it said, he notices that behind her, while she was taking the photo, is a figure, and we're seeing her point of view of her staring in the mirror. That is hard to see through because the hot water's running. She wipes the mirror clean, and there is the wolf. She's basically like, okay, way to keep playing this game like we're over it. Everyone got upset and we need to stop it now. And she notices that the wolf actually has a knife in their hand, and that knife looks pretty real. So she proceeds to get attacked, and Lewis is freaking out, letting the friend group know, like, something's actually happening here. Cut back to the chapel, the group of friends. Regina sees a trail of blood inside the chapel, which they follow to, I think it's the confessional booth. Open up the confessional booth. They look through the window and see Randall all bloodied up and dead. They all freak out. We actually found a dead body. It's no longer a game. We're dealing with some real shit here. Owen goes to the rescue to go get Mercedes, who he knows has just been attacked. Lewis is at the very top of the stairs, says that he just found Mercedes' body. He has blood all over his hands. And he was like, Owen, don't come up here. Don't come up here. I'm going to come down. And just then the wolf jumps up behind him and attacks Lewis. Owen freaks out and goes running to try to find where Lewis and the wolf have disappeared to. He ends up in the dorm room, and the dorm room is completely empty. He looks out the window. There's no wolf around. There's no Lewis around. He continues this whole little journey through the school, looking for a sign of anyone, hoping that all of his friends are okay. He ends up in an office where there is a actual landline phone ringing. And he's like, well, that's weird. So he picks up the phone, and it's Dodger. Of course, Dodger called this phone, and we discovered that it's Mr. Walker's phone. And she says, Owen. And he's like, Dodger? And she's like, what are you doing in Rich's office? He said, I'm trying to get help. Why are you calling the office? And she's like, I just found Mercedes. Basically, I want to let him know Mercedes is dead. Owen ends up looking out the window because Dodger says, I can see you up in the room. Like, look at me. And as we see Dodger, suddenly the wolf emerges from behind Dodger, prompting Dodger to start running. The wolf chases after her, and as she tries to get into the school campus front door, the door is locked and she is attacked. We have a little flashback of the fake scenario that they had played in their mind where the wolf, attacks her and cuts out her tongue, and she dies from her severed tongue. So Owen's freaking out. He doesn't know what to do. He wants to save Dodger. He thinks it might be too late. He looks around the room, and Dodger had mentioned to him that there is a gun in the desk drawer to grab that for protection. So he opens up the desk drawer. Lo and behold, there is a gun there, and he grabs it. Just then, he is interrupted by someone entering the room, and it is Mr. Walker himself. Okay, who wants to describe this moment? What's happening here? Lauren.
It's you, Britt.
All right, Brittany, it's all on you.
What's happening here is Dodger knows a lot about this teacher's office, to the fact that why does she know that there's a gun on top of or in the drawer somewhere? Mm-hmm. So it's really shady that all of this is happening, and all of a sudden the teacher shows up. All of these moments that they've written about are coming true, but it all just seems so too good to be real.
Yep. Absolutely. So Owen now is... Oh, go ahead.
I literally thought, damn, they're really going to kill everybody in this movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
And honestly, it's where, I don't know, I still seemed I wish I could remember when I actually saw this movie, what I was thinking. Because I probably thought, no, there's still something wrong. I don't understand why, but there's still something wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Owen essentially is like, you were screwing Dodger. You were a part of this. You are obviously the killer. You killed all of my friends. He names all of them. And Owen says, is this the gun that killed that girl in the woods? And Mr. Walker is like, you need to stop. Obviously, your friends are still playing a game with you. And Owen's like, no, all the evidence points to you. The gun is in your desk. And he says, I really do think that you killed that girl in the woods. What's her name? Becky. And he said, were you screwing her too? And he said, did Dodger tell you that? And Owen said, she didn't have to. You just did. So that was his tell. So Mr. Walker attacks Owen, tries to knock the gun out of his hand. They have a little roughhousing battle. Owen is still holding the gun. We hear a really loud gunshot, and we don't, as an audience, know which one got shot. And then we discover that Mr. Walker the killer has been killed. So killer has been killed. So Mr. Walker, at this moment in time, we as the audience see Mr. Walker was the mastermind behind all of this. He was sleeping with Dodger. He was also sleeping with Becky. He decided to kill Becky and kill all these kids because they discovered about the relationship that him and Dodger had. Owen is now he got the killer. Just then the door opens up and Dodger walks in. Honestly, though, in this moment, we're like, well, something's a little off because Dodger doesn't have any blood on her. She seems to be okay. And then behind her, emerging, is the rest of the friend group who we thought were all dead, standing behind her. And they're like, what have you done? Like, what the fuck? Okay, Lauren, at this moment, your first time seeing this movie, what did you think?
I just was like, when they were like, what have you done? Are you fucking kidding me? You guys faked him out this entire time, and you're going to ask him what he's done? This is your fault, not Owen.
Preach it.
Agreed. Agreed.
Had to get it out.
Because Dodger walks in like all coy, like, oh my God, what just happened? Oh.
Not Rich. Why did you kill Rich?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the look she had on her face.
And also stop calling him Rich.
Right.
Like, quit it.
Yeah. Stop calling him Rich.
You're such a creepy little shit.
Yay.
So here the cops are talking to all of the kids. We have two of them talking to the cop, letting them know that they were just trying to they were playing a game. They were trying to scare their friends. They've gotten everyone in trouble before. And we kind of go through a little rundown for the audience to see how they pulled off all these fake deaths. And I mean, they definitely took playing this game to a whole nother level. It's kind of crazy. They basically brought to life all of the fake murders that they had talked about. They were all in on it with one another to try to freak each other out. Dodger's attack ended up being from quote unquote Tom, so everything was just a game. And now someone actually lost their life. Mr. Walker was discovered to have been sleeping with kids, and at the end of the day he got murdered. So I guess you kind of get what you deserve, you creeper. But so the police are investigating the office of Mr. Walker. They find a bunch of pictures from Becky, so we do learn for sure that this was a really bad guy. So sure, it was a very rough game that they played. Someone did lose their life, but Owen did, in a way, act out of defense. Owen is taken into police custody. His father finally shows up for him and lets him know that he's getting away without being charged for any type of murder because of self-defense. He has to do some community service and things like that, but he definitely dodged that one for sure.
He dodged Dodger, but before we get to the very end, we find out that the janitor is Dodger's dad.
Yep. Yeah.
And I was like, didn't know that, wasn't going to suspect that, but I knew he knew somebody in this group.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because they kept using him as a red herring, as you guys mentioned throughout the film, kind of lurking in the background and watching them. So it's kind of cool that they actually gave him somewhat of a reveal, and we find out that it's her dad. So I think that's pretty clever writing.
He's trying to confront her with his jacket or whatever, and she goes, "Thanks, Dad," which is so sweet of him, but why is my daughter such a psycho?
That dad.
Stop.
Seriously.
Yeah.
You're ruining my day, girl.
And clearly she said, don't talk to me while I'm at school. You know, clearly that was the whole,
Because what did she say his job was? Not a scholar?
Yeah, something.
Yeah, her mom was a Dickens scholar, and her dad was, well, let's just say not a scholar. So funny, Dodger.
Rude shit. Right?
Be proud of your dad.
Yeah, and he was a sweet man. He's just looking out for
you. Yeah.
All right, so we have reached the end of the film. All is well. We as an audience are still kind of hoping that in some way this group of friends can still remain friends after everything they just went through, and we're hoping that maybe Owen and Dodger could work something out. We learned that there's someone there at the police station to visit him, to see him, and it is Dodger. She's there to check in on him, and she apologizes and says, "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to get you caught up in all of this." So they have some conversations here, and as they're speaking, she says to him, "If I had known that Rich was involved with that girl, I wouldn't have played this stupid joke." Owen staring at her, he's kind of studying what she's saying. She, of course, is very upset, and he says, "What did you say?" And she looks at him kind of shocked, and she said, she repeats it, "If I had known that Rich was screwing that girl, I wouldn't have talked the others into doing this." And he says, "Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right." So we as an audience in this moment are like, what is happening? And even Dodger doesn't understand what he's getting at. She's like, "I don't understand." He said, "You wouldn't play some game if you knew that Rich was cheating on you." Dun dun dun. And she said, "Well, that's just what I said." He said, "You would get him back." So she's kind of studying him a little bit. She's still upset. She said, "Oh, and I'm so confused. I don't really know." And he says, No, you're not confused. That's what you want me to believe." Crazy. He said,
and
just
I love
like
her last line.
Oh, me too. He said, you wanted me to believe that you were off campus. Bum bum bum. When the first instant message went out, bum bum bum. And she said, "I don't know what you're talking about." And he's like, "Yes, you do." So here we discover that in the chapel, from the very beginning, everything was set up to be one big final game, and it was to get back at Rich and everything that was happening. She knew all the clever words to say to get these people to play this game so she could end up taking the life of the man who did her wrong. We discovered that she was the person who had the gun in the woods that killed Becky in the very beginning for sleeping with the professor, because that was her man. And then we do a quick little breakdown of the film. We see a bunch of different moments of dialogue that were kind of clues along the way, and how everything adds up so perfectly. And she's still not giving in to him. She's like, "Oh, and that's so crazy." And he's like, "Really? Why do you think that's crazy?" "I just thought that was the object of the game, to avoid suspicion, manipulate your friends, and eliminate your enemies." So she did exactly that by playing with all of them and using all of them as her pawns. So she was the mastermind behind all of this. And she says, "Honestly, Owen, even if that were true, who
would believe you?
Who would believe you?" So her demeanor completely changes. She's acting all upset. "I can't believe this is being said." And then all of a sudden she kind of gets a little evilness in her face. Her demeanor completely changes, and she says her line, "Who would believe you?" And she walks away. The music swells up, and Owen's just kind of like, "Fuck, who would believe me?" And I get that last shot of Dodger in the fake wolf costume in the woods with Becky, of her pulling the trigger on the gun, and the end. That is Cry Wolf.
Yeah.
Damn.
Woof.
Whoa.
Woof. Oh, guys, that was Cry Wolf. Lauren. All right, I gotta shift gears over to you. This podcast is called The Reaction Shot, and
it is.
For being a first-time viewer, not knowing anything about this, what was your reaction to this film?
I actually really enjoyed it.
Yay! Love it. Yay!
Yeah. For what it was, it definitely has it's supposed to be like campy, that type of vibe. For what it is, like I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching it.
Good. I'd love to hear that. What would you give it on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being your favorite movie, and 1 being I hope I never have to see this piece of trash again.
Probably like a 6.
Okay. That's what you gave Scream.
Not a 2.
That's what you gave Scream also. You gave Scream a 6.
Yeah.
So.
I think I really like that. I think I'm like discovering that I like this genre.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
cool. Well, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Like I said, people are very back and forth with this film. They're very 50-50 on how they feel about it. So I was very curious to see what side you would fall on. So with a 6, you're a little higher than being in the middle. So you're definitely on the positive side of it all. So I'm happy to hear that. Brittany, you have a big history with this movie. You've seen it a bunch of times. You were super excited to do this. What do you give it on a scale of 1 to 10?
I honestly, my one friend always tells me that I just love every movie. But I honestly really like this movie. I do. I would honestly probably give it like an 8.5 and 9.
Okay.
Type deal.
Wow.
But I know I'm that type of person. I can't help it because the chemistry between the whole cast was fantastic. The story itself is a really good spooky story. You got rich kids doing rich things, but also not having any type of supervision. So of course they're going to have to make up something to do and get to this point. So I really enjoy a story like that.
Good. I love it.
It's like a spooky, Cruel Intentions.
Yes. Zach actually made that reference that Dodger reminded him of Catherine, Sarah Michelle Gellar's character from Cruel Intentions.
1,000,000%. That is Catherine in red hair.
Awesome. Yeah. Obviously, I really love Cry Wolf as well. I probably give it a 7 out of 10. So one of my biggest things I say when I talk about Cry Wolf, because this is a movie that I recommend to people, and I always go into it saying, you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. or it's it's a fun movie. Don't take it too seriously. Just enjoy it. I always like to set it up that way because I don't want people to go into it thinking they're going to watch The Godfather or anything like that. So my biggest thing with the movie, and I've always said this, even when I saw it in the movie theater back in 2005, I said, man, I really, really love that movie. I think everyone did a phenomenal job. The writing, the directing, the acting. But I do think that the story could have been reworked a little different and executed a little differently as well. I think that the foundation for the film is top tier. I do think the execution was a little lackluster. I think they missed the mark on some things. They could have made things they could have made the game a little bit bigger with more more things that they could have lost. I don't know. I feel like they did a really good job, but it could have been fleshed out a little bit more. Wouldn't mind there being a reboot, a remake, even if in like a small television, season, a breakdown. I think you'd have a lot of fun with it. I think, Brittany, you mentioned this was kind of like Gossip Girl before Gossip Girl and things like that. And I agree. And I think
go ahead.
I think you can, like running on the success of the reboot of The Mole on Netflix. I think they can definitely take the success of that and bring this back into the limelight. Like even bring some of the original creators back to it. Bring the director and the writer because they did a great job. Just take what you did already and just elevate it a little bit more. And I think you definitely have a huge success here.
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
No.
I think it's so like, am I off?
No, you're good. You're good.
Oh, I just think that like it's such a playback to that specific period in time and with like the aim, and I just wouldn't want to see it made today with like Snapchat or something.
That's true.
I like it the way it is.
I would honestly, I would just redo it as that time. Get the flip phones, get the sidekicks, which I love, have the envies, the chocolates, all of that stuff, because it's very Cruel Intentions, Gossip Girl. Owen is Lonely Boy. He's the original Dan Humphrey, but it's just kind of flipped on its side type deal.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could see it being remade and Dodger being the teacher instead, but playing a game with like all of the students and some type of whatever.
Yeah. No, I agree. I definitely know what you mean, Lauren. I agree. I don't think I would want to see it remade in like modern times, but I think if they could pull it off and, make it set during that time as well and bring back all the 2000s fashion and those phones and, the instant messages and stuff.
2000s fashion. Like, how are those jeans on Mercedes not flying off of her body? I still don't understand the concept of the super low-rise jeans like Britney Spears, Tara Reid, how? Beyonce.
Yeah.
Ashanti, like how are we doing that?
Yeah.
I do.
And why?
Right.
I blocked it out.
Oh shit.
You honestly have to.
I need my high-waisted jeans up to my chin.
Yeah,
thank you.
Just put them on my shoulders and let's be done.
Oh, that'd be quite a view. Real fashion right there.
My legs are long enough. Like they don't even make long enough jeans in general.
Love it. Cool. Anything else you guys have to say about the movie? Anything that we haven't covered?
I will say thank you for like telling me to just like go into it like light and like don't take it too seriously. Like you did all the stuff that you just said. You said to me.
Cool.
So I'm glad that you said that to me.
Good.
And it made me enjoy it and like it's a cool watch,
Good. Yeah. That's cool. Good time.
I guess I should start telling my friends that because I'm like, oh, watch this movie. I love it. And they're like, this is so dumb. I'm like, was it though? Because it's not.
I think you described it as like campy to me a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
you just
aren't all horror movies campy? Like I feel like that's for the most part, like that era.
Yeah.
Because they can do a spoof on that, the whole movie. And they probably have somewhere. So
sure.
I don't know. Like you just know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely a hard recommendation sometimes. I was telling my assistant at work about the movie. He really loves horror movies. He's never seen it. And I'm like, you have to go into it knowing like when I say it's a slasher movie, to spend relief of what you think is a slasher movie. Like it's not blood guts galore and people dropping one by one really fast. Like we don't even really get, other than Becky in the beginning, all of that stuff real or not doesn't even really take place until like the last 30 minutes of the movie. So
and it's maybe like 2 seconds of it because they do it so fast. I will say, I think that is one of the things that I don't necessarily like about the film is that, like, I want to see, like, you see the process of them getting killed, but you don't see the leading up to it. So they could have done that better to show, like, oh no, like these kids have been stalked this whole time, to make it a little bit more believable, even though it's believable for what it was.
Yeah.
But to make it have more meat on the bones of the film.
Yeah. I appreciated not seeing all the killing.
Which
that's what Lauren likes.
Fair.
This is right up Lauren's alley.
Not to see the killing, but to see like, oh, I just ran upstairs and he's standing behind the door or something like that. Or like, oh, hey, just kidding. Well, you see that part. Like, we don't have to reveal that, but I don't know, just like them being chased through the hallways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think little scenes like the library scene could have been a lot more suspenseful. I think they had a great thing going on with that scene. They didn't really use it to its full advantage. When Owen's being chased in the school, it was a nice little chase scene. I think they could have had a little bit more fun with that as well. Yeah, and then establishing like the moments up to the murders could have been a good time too. But you know, it's what we got, and I enjoy it. And it's a movie I usually do recommend to people. It sticks out to me, especially with my run-in with the general, the prank that was played on me.
No,
so
can't.
It's still so scary. Like, I couldn't handle that.
Yeah, good times. Cool. Well, I appreciate you guys.
Yeah,
it was so great. It was great up until like the last 10 minutes, like the 10 minutes before he revealed himself to us. I was just kind of like, all right,
the second I see the car, I'm like, oh, we're leaving. We're not staying here. Like, we can't be here anymore.
I bet he putells all his friends now, like, you'll never guess what I did in high school.
Yeah.
I was so cool.
So cool.
I pulled this prank
and
on
hopefully
my
his friends are like, no, that was actually kind of really aggressive and over the top.
Yeah, it was a little creepy. He used to like we would have big parties and stuff, and we would stay at his house. Like, when I say a lot of us, it would literally be probably 20 people, and he would have cameras hidden everywhere throughout the house. He was creepy. Not in bathrooms or anything. Not going that direction, but yeah, we'd just be why do you have a camera over there? Turn that camera off. Stop being weird. Yeah, good times.
Okay. You need to tell me his name off camera so that I can stop.
I know. I need to. What? I'm so spooked.
And on that note, I appreciate you guys doing this episode. It was episode 8, so we're working our way to episode 10. We'll be there before we know it. And
so much fun.
Yeah, thanks for both of you coming back and doing another episode with me. I'm glad we got to do it, the three of us. We'll have to do this again sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. It was so fun.
Cool. It was.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you guys. Have a great day, everyone listening. I appreciate you listening, and be ready for episode 9. All right, guys. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.